Hi everybody. Obviously it's been a while since I've posted and I kind of wanted to take a moment to address the big elephant in the room, which is I'm not writing my book anymore. And here's why. Hi everyone, if you don't know who I am, my name is Domagas. I am a writer. I also post videos online now about like writerly advice and hopefully documenting my overall journey as a writer. So welcome if you're here for the first time. For those of you who are new and don't know me, basically early on this year, I was trying to write a really big novel about these kids that lived in a hostel and kind of their journey around that, also sprinkling in some of the Filipino experience. I was posting about that earlier on in the year and then just abruptly stopped. And I stopped posting because I also stopped working on the book. And the biggest reason for that was they go kind of hand in hand. At that time, I didn't really know what I was doing with the book. Like I had a good anchor on it, but there was still a lot of stuff that I needed to figure out. While I was experiencing all this uncertainty on like what direction to take the book in and like what dynamics I needed for the characters, I felt like I was experiencing whiplash of like, I should do this, I should do that. And then it kind of felt unfair to me to also be putting my viewers through that uncertainty. Like my life in general is not a clear narrative and certainly not my writing journey, and so it felt too off, and I felt like most of the content at that time would have been me being like, I don't know what to do. In my eyes, that doesn't make for a very good video if I'm just constantly like staring off into space being like, what is going on? Also, I kind of figured that it takes time for people to figure out their books, like even months on end, just to like live life and think about it in the background. I was certainly at that point of I just kind of need to think on this. I kind of need to grow as a person. So that was one of the big reasons that I decided to stop at that point. And it was also a really big reason why I didn't do YouTube, because it was just embarrassing to like show all my uncertainty at the time, which I'm sure there's going to be more uncertainty in the future, but I think I'm in a better place to experience that. Another really big reason why I decided to stop working on that project, it was just becoming clear to me as I was writing the book that as much as I wanted it to be about the Filipino experience and also some things that we go through, I myself didn't have that knowledge. I don't know the history behind it. I don't even know Tagalog that much at all even. It just felt weird writing from a narrator's perspective that knew Filipino experience and knew Filipino history, but I myself didn't. And so I just figured that I needed some more time to dedicate to that, and just like when I'm able to like go back to this novel, because the hope is that I do go back to this novel, that I'm coming from a place of like more knowledge and more experience. Another big thing that I was experiencing was that I just wasn't relating to the subject matter at that time. Because listen to the context. Like the book, right, takes place at a hostel, which is basically, if you've never stayed at a hostel before, the closest thing I can describe it to is like a college dorm, like a freshman college dorm. Like there's all these kids on the same floor, like experiencing life and their youth and newfound responsibility all of a sudden and trying to figure out who they are. And there's all these different characters running around and you're bumping into new people. Try to imagine trying to write that experience in the middle of the pandemic. I think I was writing around January, February time. And it was just so hard to like create new characters with their own voice and their own sense of self while I was just basically in my room talking to myself with no outside inspiration, because I myself get a lot of inspiration from talking to family members and talking to friends and being really fascinated with everything that they do and like how they talk. I just wasn't in that place that I was experiencing that. So things are a little bit different now where I live in California. Like things are opening and like are a little bit better. We're not out of the woods yet, but I've been able to like talk to new people, so that's been really fun. Another thing that I think I was realizing at the time was that my narrative voice was extremely underdeveloped. I still think I have some things to work on right now, but it was hard to keep the same narrative voice for how many 100K words when I didn't really have a narrative voice at that point. I didn't figure out what my favorite style was, or like some of the certain beats that I like to hit in dialogue. I felt like every single day, like I was having a different narrative voice. Even paragraph to paragraph felt very different to experience. It felt like there were multiple writers in one book, and it's just because I didn't know what I liked. There was just so many different things that I needed to experiment with as a writer. And the last big reason was basically time. And I will say I have more time than the average person to work on some things, but just in terms of the way that I write, like I kind of figured out that I like to at least do a first pass of editing on the things that I write, and that kind of requires a long period of time to both ideate something, to write it out, and then to edit it to a point of knowing the direction that I'm gonna take off for the next day. So that just takes me a really long time to do, and I figured that like at the pace that I was going, it just wasn't feasible to really finish anything, and that was just really discouraging at that point, because I'd been working on the novel for years, and that it would take even more years to even finish, and I just didn't see the ending in sight. And I think at that point of being a new writer, it's really important to be able to finish something and finish things frequently, so that you can prove to yourself, hey, like this is actually my portfolio and I can do this. I am capable of finishing something and finishing it well. So what this video is probably leading down to is one singular question: did I give up? And the answer is no. Of course I wouldn't give up on writing. Like, I love writing. And I have stopped working on the novel. I'm not saying I've given up on it, because it's just something that requires more time, more energy, more research, more resources, and I just don't have that right now. I don't have the bandwidth to do that. I'm actually focusing on a new project, which is a vignette collection, and that's something that I am much closer to finishing, just because I was able to write a vignette like through last October when I did FreeWrite Frenzy, and then throughout the year, and keep working on that. So basically what the vignette collection is, if you've seen my Instagram, I post some of them there. So this is a shameless plug to go check it out. You'll see some of the vignettes that I'm including in my final vignette collection. And basically I just have this vision to have like a very like short book, something that you can kind of take on the train with you, or just read like casually, or have it as a coffee table book. I'd love to have it illustrated. You could read it very quickly if you wanted to, but the hope was to maybe like read a vignette per day, and that's kind of like what you let sit with you, because I'm a firm believer in slow reading and letting art sit with you for a long time. So that's been really exciting, that I actually feel like I'm in a place to finish that. I'm gonna get some editing feedback from my writing friends. I'll also at one point get a professional editor, so I'll show everybody like through this Writing Here With You series like what I've been doing and keeping up with that. At one point, I believe it, I'm going to get published, and it'll be very interesting to like share that with you guys when that happens. I'm also doing FreeWrite Frenzy again this year, so by the time this video comes out, it'll be a couple of days afterwards, but you can still join, so I encourage you to do so. I'll leave the link also in the description box down below, so be sure to check that out. So yeah, I'm super excited for the future. It's gonna be really fun sharing this journey with you, and also other writing content that I can provide on this YouTube channel. So if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe. I'm gonna try to commit to publishing a video every single week. I know it's super important as a way to market yourself as a writer, so I'm committing to it. Try to stick to it, do my best. So stick along for the ride. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe for more writerly content, and to watch me figure out this writing publish process. So thank you everybody, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.